Eleanor whispered the words that made Samuel freeze mid-motion. "It hurts. This is my first time." It was their wedding night, summer of 1868, inside the small cabin near Abilene, Kansas. The oil lamp flickered. The wooden bed creaked under their weight. Sam had been a widower for 10 years. Eleanor, just 21, had arrived 3 days ago as his mail-order bride, but something was terribly wrong. Her body was stiff as a board. Her hands were trembling. And when Sam looked into her eyes, he didn't see shyness. He saw pure terror. "It'll be over quick," Sam said gently, but then he stopped completely, because that's when he saw them. The bruises, old ones, faded yellow and green, running up her arms like a twisted map of pain. Some were months old. Some were older. His rough rancher's hands, the same hands that could break a wild stallion, suddenly became soft as feathers. "Who did this to you?" Sam asked, his voice barely a whisper. Eleanor started crying. Not the gentle tears of a nervous bride. These were the kind of sobs that come from years of buried hell. She pulled away, wrapped herself in the bedsheet, and sat on the edge of the bed. "My stepfather," she finally said. "Cyrus Bennett. After Mama died 5 years ago, he... She couldn't finish. She didn't have to. Sam felt his blood turn to ice and then to fire. He'd seen war, death, and rustlers, but this was different. "How long?" Sam asked. 5 years. Every time I fought back, it got worse. So I stopped fighting. I just survived. When I saw your advertisement for a wife in the Kansas newspaper, I knew it was my only way out. I had to escape, even if it meant marrying a stranger." Sam stood up, walked to the wash basin, and came back with a damp cloth. He sat beside Eleanor, not touching her, just near her. "Listen to me real careful," Sam said, his voice steady and calm. "You're safe now. I didn't bring you here to hurt you. I brought you here because I needed a partner, not a servant. And partners don't hurt each other. You understand me?" Eleanor looked at him through wet eyes. She nodded slowly. "We're going to take this real slow." Sam continued. "There's no rush. We got all the time in the world. Tonight, you sleep on the bed. I'll take the floor. And tomorrow, we'll start over, as friends first. Then we'll see where it goes. Deal?" For the first time since arriving in Kansas, Eleanor smiled. It was small, broken, but it was real. "Deal," she whispered. Sam grabbed a blanket and made himself a spot on the wooden floor. As he lay there staring at the ceiling, one question burned in his mind. What kind of monster puts his hands on a defenseless girl for 5 whole years? And more importantly, what would Sam do if that monster ever showed up at his ranch? The next morning, Eleanor woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon. Back in Ohio, she'd always been the one cooking. Cyrus would yell if breakfast wasn't ready by sunrise. But here, Sam was already at the stove, flipping bacon in a cast iron skillet like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Morning," Sam said without turning around. "Hope you like your eggs scrambled. I ain't fancy, but I can feed us." Eleanor wrapped the blanket around herself and walked to the small table. In the daylight, the cabin looked simple and honest, nothing like the dark, suffocating house she'd escaped from. "You didn't have to do this," Eleanor said quietly. "Neither did you when you agreed to marry a stubborn old rancher sight unseen." Sam replied with half a smile. "Now eat up. We got work to do." Over the next few weeks, Sam taught Eleanor everything. How to milk the cow named Bessie, who had an attitude problem. How to ride his gentlest horse, a mare called Daisy. He never rushed her, never raised his voice, never lifted a hand. On cool evenings, he'd line up empty bottles on the fence and put his spare revolver in her hands. The first few shots rattled her so bad she could barely breathe, but after a couple of weeks she could knock a bottle clean off a post at 20 feet. At first, Eleanor flinched every time Sam moved too quickly. But slowly, day by day, the flinching stopped. One afternoon, while they were mending a fence together under the brutal Kansas sun, Eleanor actually laughed. It was the first real laugh Sam had heard from her. "What's so funny?" Sam asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. You, Eleanor said, grinning. You just cussed at that fence post for 5 straight minutes like it personally insulted your mother. Sam chuckled. Well, it's a stubborn post. Runs in the family. They worked side by side until sunset. And that night, for the first time, Eleanor didn't ask Sam to sleep on the floor. You can sleep on the bed, she said nervously. I trust you. Sam nodded slowly. Only if you're sure. I'm sure. They lay on opposite sides of the bed that night, a good 2 feet between them. But sometime around midnight, Eleanor's hand slowly moved across the sheets. Her fingers found Sam's rough, calloused hand, and she held it. Sam didn't move, just held her hand back, gentle as holding a baby bird. 2 weeks later, on a warm August night, Eleanor rolled over and kissed Sam for the first time. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. What happened next was slow, careful, and nothing like her first night of terror. Sam kept asking if she was okay with so she kept saying yes, and when it was over, Eleanor cried again. But this time, Sam understood. These were different tears. Thank you, she whispered into his chest. Thank you for being patient. Sam kissed the top of her head. Thank you for giving an old man a second chance at something real. But 400 miles away in Ohio, Cyrus Bennett was reading a letter from the Kansas postmaster, and he was furious. 3 months apiece, that's all they got. It was a Tuesday morning in late October when Eleanor was hanging laundry outside. The Kansas wind was picking up, carrying the smell of incoming rain. Sam was out checking the cattle in the north pasture. That's when she heard the wagon. Eleanor looked up and felt her entire body turn to stone, because climbing down from that wagon, wearing the same mean scowl she remembered from 1,000 nightmares, was Cyrus Bennett. Beside him on the wagon seat sat Abilene's county sheriff, a tired-looking man named Clayton, who'd let Cyrus talk him into riding out here with a bottle of whiskey and a story about a stolen horse. There she is, Cyrus announced, pointing at Eleanor like she was a runaway dog. My stepdaughter, the thief who ran off in the night. Eleanor dropped the wet sheet she was holding. Her hand started shaking. All those weeks of healing, of learning to feel safe again, vanished in an instant. Sheriff Clayton tipped his hat. Ma'am, this man wrote my office saying you ran off with his horse and left debts behind. I'm here to hear both sides. Debts. Eleanor's voice cracked. He calls that care. I fed you, clothed you, kept a roof over your head after your mama died, Cyrus said smoothly, and you repay me by stealing my horse and running off to marry some stranger. You owe me $500, girl, or you're coming back to Ohio where you belong. Before Eleanor could respond, she heard hoofbeats. Sam came riding in fast, dust kicking up behind his horse. He took one look at Cyrus and his jaw clenched so tight you could hear his teeth grind. Get off my land, Sam said quietly. But quiet from Sam was more dangerous than yelling. This doesn't concern you, rancher, Cyrus sneered. This is between me and my daughter. Stepdaughter, Sam corrected, climbing down from his horse. And she's not yours anymore. She's my wife, legal and proper. We got the papers filed in Abilene 3 months ago. So whatever business you think you got here, you don't before you hear what happens next. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is about to get real interesting. Pour yourself some coffee, settle in, and let me know in the comments what time it is where you're listening from. I love hearing from you folks. Now, where was I? Right, the showdown. Cyrus smiled that oily smile of his. She still owes me $500 for her upbringing. A man's owed for that kind of care, mister. Sheriff here will tell you. Sheriff Clayton looked uncomfortable. All I know is he claims you owe him money and a horse. Out here. That can be serious business. Show them, Sam said suddenly, looking at Eleanor. Sam, no, Eleanor whispered. Show them, Sam repeated, his voice gentle but firm. These men need to understand exactly what kind of care you got. Eleanor's hands trembled as she slowly unbuttoned her sleeve. She rolled up the fabric, revealing the landscape of old scars and faded bruises that still marked her skin like a map of hell. Sheriff Clayton's face went pale. 5 years, Eleanor said, her voice stronger now. 5 years of this. That's the care he's talking about. But Cyrus wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Sheriff Clayton stared at those scars for a long moment. Then he looked at Cyrus with disgust. Mr. Bennett, I strongly suggest you get back in that wagon and ride for Ohio before I decide to wire your hometown judge and ask a few hard questions. Beating on a girl like that is a crime where I come from. Cyrus's face turned red. She's lying. Those scars could be from anything. Farm work, accidents. 5 years worth of accidents. Sam stepped forward. On a girl who was locked in the house most days. Try again, the sheriff nodded. You got 1 hour to be on the road out of this county, Mr. Bennett. After that, I'm filing a report. And trust me, word travels fast between Kansas and Ohio law. Cyrus climbed back into his wagon, but the look he gave Eleanor was pure poison. This ain't over, girl. You hear me? This ain't over. They watched him ride away. Dust trailing behind the wagon. Eleanor collapsed into Sam's arms, shaking. Sheriff Clayton tipped his hat and left soon after, promising to keep an eye out. It's done, Sam whispered into Eleanor's hair. He's gone. Still, as he slid the bolt across the cabin door that evening, a hard knot sat in Sam's gut. Men like Cyrus didn't swallow humiliation easy, but Sam was wrong. That night, around 2 a.m., Eleanor woke up to the sound of breaking glass. She sat up in bed, heart pounding. Sam was already reaching for his shotgun in the corner. Stay here, Sam whispered. But Eleanor knew that sound. She knew that heavy footstep on the porch. She'd heard it 1,000 times back in Ohio, usually right before the beatings started. Cyrus had come back. I know you're in there, Cyrus yelled from outside. You think you can embarrass me in front of a lawman and get away with it? You think you can just leave? Sam moved toward the door, but Eleanor grabbed his arm. No, this is my fight. Eleanor, no. He's been controlling me through fear my whole life. Sam, if I don't face him now, I'll be looking over my shoulder forever. Before Sam could argue, Eleanor grabbed his spare revolver from the drawer. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. She walked to the door and opened it. Cyrus stood there on the porch, drunk and angry, pistol in hand. But when he saw Eleanor with her gun pointed straight at his chest, he froze. You, Cyrus laughed, but it sounded nervous. You don't have the spine, girl. You never did. You're right, Eleanor said calmly. The old Eleanor didn't, but I'm not her anymore. Now get off my husband's land, or I'll put a hole in you that even an undertaker couldn't fix. Behind her, Sam appeared in the doorway with his shotgun, backing her up. She means it, Cyrus, and even if she misses, I won't. For the first time, she saw something new in Cyrus Bennett's eyes. Fear. He lowered his gun slowly. You'll regret this. Both of you. The only regret I got, Eleanor said, is not standing up to you sooner. Now get out. And if you ever come back to Kansas, they'll be measuring you for a pine box. Cyrus stumbled backward, got on his horse, and rode off into the darkness. Eleanor stood there on that porch after he was gone, still holding the gun. Then her knees buckled. Sam caught her before she fell. It's over, Sam said. This time, it's really over. But was it? 1 year later, summer of 1869. The Kansas sun was blazing hot again, but this time everything felt different. The ranch had grown, and the garden Eleanor planted was bursting with life. And Eleanor? She was sitting on that same wooden bench outside the cabin, no longer the terrified girl who arrived a year ago. Her belly was round with their first child, and when she smiled, it reached all the way to her eyes, one blistering afternoon. Sam came in from the fields and let himself drop onto the cabin steps. Eleanor, 7 months along, sat one step above him in her thin white dress. The heat made them both bold. She leaned down, kissed him slow, and just then their old gelding wandered up and stood watching them, ears flicking, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. What happened next under that Kansas sun was sweeter than their wedding night ever was. Sam felt that warm, full feeling he thought he'd never have again after his first wife died. "How you feeling?" Sam asked, kneeling down beside her. "Like I'm about to explode." Eleanor laughed, rubbing her belly. "This baby's got your stubbornness, I can tell already." They hadn't planned the timing, but out here life didn't ask permission before it grew. Sam pressed his ear gently against her stomach, listening. "That's my boy in there, or girl. Don't matter which, long as they got your courage." Eleanor ran her fingers through Sam's graying hair. "I never thanked you properly, you know, for saving me." Sam looked up at her, shaking his head. "You got it backwards, Ellie. You saved me. I was just a lonely old man going through the motions before you showed up. You brought life back to this place, back to me." She leaned down and kissed him softly. "We saved each other. Then, how about that? Sounds about right." As the sun climbed higher, painting the Kansas sky in shades of gold and blue, Sam thought about everything they'd been through, the pain, the fear. Months later, a short note from Sheriff Clayton had mentioned a rumor that Cyrus Bennett got himself knifed in some bar back in Ohio. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. As far as Eleanor was concerned, he died the night she faced him on that porch with a gun in her hand. But mostly, Sam thought about second chances. Here's what I learned from Sam and Eleanor's story, and maybe you need to hear this today too. It's never too late to start over, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone love you after the world has tried to break you. Eleanor could have let those 5 years of hell define her. She didn't. She chose to heal. She chose to trust again. That choice, that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to start over from nothing, or find the courage to trust again after someone broke you? Drop a comment below. We're all a little bit like Eleanor and Sam. We've all got scars, but those scars don't define us. What defines us is what we do next, who we choose to become. Sam and Eleanor built something beautiful out of broken pieces, and you can too. Thanks for listening, folks. Until next time, keep your heart open and your courage strong.